All right, let's just do a quick little turn here. Alexa, set timer for 5 minutes. All right, so this is firstyearout.org, and we're going to play around with this a little bit. This will be ready to rock on Monday. And in theory, what's going to happen is we'll have a change community button so that you can, or maybe here, something like that, change community, so that you can switch between DC and Raleigh and Philadelphia, etc. Right? New York, Chicago, etc. All right. What is first year out? I think we'll probably put the video here. I'm going to create a little explainer video that sort of does a stick figure. Hey, you graduated from college. You don't know what you're doing. Connect with first year out, right? Oh, these are the hubs. And this will be the calendar, hub specific, some mixture of the goal here is to schedule a meetup, or the goal here is to identify an ambassador. And I'm gonna walk through here in a second, like how it can be a remote person first. But we want to have an ambassador for each of the different hubs. And then we want to recruit an in-person ambassador who's going to be like, Claire, you're the in-person ambassador for Raleigh, right? But in theory, you could be the remote ambassador for Wilmington or the remote ambassador for fill in the blank. And I'm going to talk about how we can maybe make there be a little money there. All right. And venues and spaces, people, sponsors. So this is all going to come alive. Just wanted to show you that. All right, switch to the web page. So first year out, here are the hubs that I envision for the first quarter of 2026, because these are all places that I've either visited or am visiting. Some of these, even Charlottesville and Blacksville, which are obviously big college schools or college cities, they might still be good. All right. Here's what I see happening. There are the stages. So Raleigh, we've identified Raleigh. We have an advocate, right? That's you, Claire. And then you have a meetup scheduled. Maybe it's like these are like your check boxes. Do you have these things done? And if you have these things done, that lets you know the strength of the hub. So my goal is for us to look at each of these and see where are we. There are 10 here. How many of those are done, right? All right. Then the goal from an engagement perspective would be, all right, can we go from one person registered to 3? And I don't care. The meetup is one thing. It's really just adding themselves to the page, right? So can we have 3? We can go from 3 to 5. We can go to 5 to 10. We can go from 10 to 20. 10 to 20, etc. Right? Here's the blueprint. We identify the hub. I just identified 19. We identify who is going to be the remote hub driver for each one. What I see happening is us saying that we have a bonus of $100 for when that hub gets activated. So if you're the remote hub driver and you get it to the stage of activated, the first sponsor, then you get $100, let's say. So again, that's a fun project. People can do it or not do it. All right. Reach out to the national alumni leaders for the different colleges to let them know that we are activating FYO Virginia Beach, and we want to be introduced to UVA's person or this or this or this. We want to basically have like a plug and play way for you to announce. And then once we get those guys connected, they'll be able to follow our activation path and they'll start sharing it naturally. But that might be the first thing to do. Reach out to the top 50 colleges, right? Alumni clubs. And Claire, you went to Appalachian State. Savannah, if you're watching this, you went to UVA. Nora, if you're watching this, you go to Haverford. This kind of, you can choose, but there's probably 10, 25, 50, 100 colleges that you can start off with. And obviously, every time somebody gets involved, we're going to have a new kind of college ambassador, right? Research to identify potential sponsors and advocates. This is where the money is going to come from. So finding a real estate agent, a lender, a whatever, who says, oh my God, I would love to be the sponsor for first year out in Raleigh, is where that first $100 comes from. And again, we don't need it necessarily, but that's the bait to help the remote driver keep going. Okay. And then I'm going to give you like a task list here. Identify local biz groups, identify local social groups, post the announcement. And what I was saying is, or I didn't say this, but one thing is, one of the best ways to announce it is we're looking for a venue where we want to have our first year out meetup. Well, you're asking for advice as to what's the best venue. That can often get a lot of engagement. And in doing it, you're Alexa cancel. And in doing it, you're announcing first year out. So then you can outreach to the sponsor. Alexa, thank you. Outreach to business groups, outreach to social groups.
You're welcome.
Jesus, Alexa. And at that point, what you're doing is just saying, hey, we're doing this thing. Let us know if you want to be involved, right? You don't have to make it a hard sell. You're really just trying to let people know that first year out Wilmington now exists. First year out Philadelphia now exists. First year out DC now exists. First year out Chicago now exists. Oh, that's where it is. Post the where should we host our first year out. So here are the stages that I think are good. And basically, when people start coming in, right, the first year out person who registers, we don't need that person to be the ambassador. You could legitimately have a meetup without, eventually you want somebody to be on the ground who's our representative. But again, there's a hub, there's a venue, there's a bar. If there are people there, we can say, would any of you guys be willing to show up early and set up the blank? All right. Here are the event cadence. Choose the event date, 3 to 4 weeks away. Nothing big. Claire and I are talking. It's having one person is fine. Having 2 people is fine. Having 5 people is fine. Having 10 people is fine. It's more about having it exist. Choose a venue. You don't need permission. You could say, Savannah, I'm thinking if you wanted to, you could say, we're doing this at Southside. It's fine because ultimately it's just having an event. Activate the page for the event, which I have, begin the launch blueprint. Accelerating promotion. We can say anytime anybody comes in the door, we can say, hey, in addition to being involved with your first year out in your neighborhood, do you want to help promote or activate referral sources for other ones? Many hands make light work. We can set up little bonuses. They can earn points, etc. Every new person who comes in, we want them to have links, posts, social media posts, tools to activate their individual communities, right? They know a couple people who went to college. They have their friends who are probably all first-year outers. They go into an apartment complex or a group house with other first-year outers. They have their own favorite pub, blah, 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 right? And then activating the potential sponsors. So then here's the fun part. We're going to give people a little template. So if they want to print up join us at first year out with the QR code, then as they're going out, as they're going to events that have young people, they can hand out those cards. That can also, we'll talk about this, not that you guys really care about this, but that can turn going out into a business expense because you're going to be able to, earn $5 or whatever when somebody becomes a new first year outer. Well, that means that you're going out and handing out cards. That turns your going out into a business expense. Don't go crazy, but it's something. Once you choose your venue, you can post a flyer at the venue with the QR code and the link because you're going to do a happy hour there. You can ask them, but you can do it. And then the tabletopper sign, which is like, hey, this is our first year out meetup. And then what I would suggest is whoever's the host gets want this logo to be way bigger, but they order a first year out mesh trucker hat. So you can say, come find the person in the mesh trucker hat, right? Blah, blah, blah. But the web page is going to have all of this. And again, it's 3 to 4 weeks away. It is, as Claire and I were talking about, is completely fine it's honestly completely fine if it's just you, because you're still going to be able to record a video saying, hey, we're counting down till our first year out. But the only way it's only going to be you is if you don't do anything, right? And you can even just be the remote ambassador. And if we get to the day before the event and nobody has registered, well, we just cancel it. No big deal, right? All right. So that's it.